If you're a leader in a state, local, or education agency, you already know how much you rely on your technology partners. But here's the real question. How do you actually verify that they're keeping your data safe? Well, today we're going to break down a framework to do just that. This comes from a guide by Virtualization Options LLC, and it's all about moving away from just trusting your provider to having cold, hard proof of their security.
So why is this so critical right now? Just look at this number, 62%. In 2022, that's how many ransomware attacks in the education sector were aimed at schools. That is a staggering figure, and it points to a massive vulnerability. The fact is, public agencies are often seen as soft targets because of tight budgets, which makes proving your provider's security more important than ever.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack the unique security challenges that these public agencies are up against. Then, we'll get into building a solid foundation for your audit, followed by verifying the core technical defenses, the real nuts and bolts. After that, we'll talk about auditing the human element, and finally, how to make sure this trust is a continuous, ongoing thing.
Okay, first up, the SLED Security Challenge. This is really about the immense responsibility of protecting public trust when everything, and I mean everything, is going digital.
Public sector organizations are really facing a perfect storm. It's not just one thing. They're battling a constant rise in cyber threats and more regulatory pressure, all while trying to keep the public's trust, and usually on a very tight budget. This mix is exactly why choosing a security-first IT partner isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute necessity. So that brings us right to our next section, building your audit foundation. We're shifting from the problem to the solution here, giving you the power to ask the right questions right from the get-go.
The very first step is making sure your provider even speaks the language of regulation. For instance, they have to be totally fluent in frameworks like FERPA, which is all about protecting student records, CJIS for law enforcement data, and of course, HIPAA for health information. Showing they're compliant here, that's not optional. It's the absolute bare minimum.
And remember, a real audit is way more than just a quick checkup. It's a strategic mission. You've got to start by defining your goals. Are you doing this for compliance or to really understand your risk? Then you identify every single IT asset they touch, you evaluate how they operate, and you make sure it all lines up with proven security standards like NIST or the CIS controls. All right, now let's get into the nitty-gritty. It's time to pop the hood and take a hard look at your provider's core technical defenses, from their firewalls all the way up to the cloud.
A key concept you absolutely need to verify is called defense in depth. Think of it like a medieval castle. Seriously, it doesn't just have one big wall, right? It's got a moat, an outer wall, an inner wall, and guards at every gate. In the same way, a strong security setup has multiple layers, from firewalls at the edge to encryption wrapped around the data itself. So if one layer gets breached, another one is right there to stop the attack.
Now here's a very specific, non-negotiable standard to ask them about. When it comes to protecting data, the magic words you want to hear are AES 256 for data that's at rest, when it's just sitting on a server, and TLS 1.3 for data that's in transit, when it's moving across the network. Anything less than that is just not the gold standard anymore. And a quick but super important point on cloud security. It is a shared responsibility. It's a partnership. Your cloud provider secures the basic infrastructure, but your agency is responsible for securing your own data and how you set things up in the cloud. That's why you have to audit your provider's certifications like FedRAMP and SOC 2, and, just as important, your own configurations. Okay, let's switch gears. Because technology is only one piece of the puzzle. At the end of the day, security is fundamentally a human endeavor. This section is all about auditing the people and the processes that actually make a security program work. You really find out what a provider is made of during a crisis. This timeline here shows what a mature incident response plan looks like. The goal is immediate containment within the first 4 hours to stop the bleeding. A provider who can show you a well-practiced plan with clear timelines like this, well, that's a provider who's truly prepared. And hey, when it comes to security training, please don't just accept a simple, yep, our staff is trained. That's just checking a box. A truly prepared provider can prove their training actually works, with real results from things like phishing simulations and metrics that show a measurable drop in risk. And for those of you in education, this is huge. A great IT partner gets that security awareness isn't one size fits all. They should be able to support a layered approach, teaching the basics to the youngest students and getting high schoolers ready for what they'll face in a professional digital world. And that leads us to our final and maybe most critical section. You have to remember security is a process, not a destination. Verification isn't something you do once, it's about building a system of continuous trust. So, what does continuous trust actually look like? Well, it's a checklist of tangible things you can see and touch. Are they showing you the reports from their regular vulnerability scans? Do they have a documented policy for patching critical issues? And is it within 72 hours? Do they pay independent third parties to try and hack them every year? These are the signs of a true, ongoing commitment to your security. So we'll leave you with this one question, because it really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. After all this, it's the one thing every public agency leader should be asking themselves. Is your security built on hope, or is it built on proof? Because in today's world, hope just isn't a strategy.